All right. Well, let's just close out the night with our movie review because we are back to our movie. Since we are back, we will do a movie review. This month we don't really have a theme or some sort of guideline. Although it kind of ended up that way because
we did not plan it this way, but it kind of worked out, and so I guess I would deem it the degenerate month.
right. Well, I don't because we each decided to pick two movies for the month. And Robert gave his first two first, and I noticed that there was a pattern. So I was like, okay, I'll turn into the skid, and so I picked two similar movies, and it just kind of ended up being this month being the degenerate month.
Yeah. It starts off like, it's not so bad to holy shit.
We decided that we were gonna go in order of least degenerate to most degenerate.
Yeah.
And so we're going to start off this month's movie review with Risky Business.
Oh yeah, baby.
A classic from the 1980s, starring Tom Cruise, very very young Tom. It's funny because
very young.
But if you look at Tom Cruise now, he isn't much different. I wouldn't say that he's older. I would just say he's more mature. Because he looks more or less the same, from his younger days. It's just he looks more mature. And again, I wouldn't call it old, but just more mature.
Yeah, he doesn't. He kind of has a little bit of what that Dick Clark disease, where he doesn't really age. He kind of just has that same, kind of.
I wouldn't call it old. I just call it mature.
Yeah, I don't think he's had any work done either. I think he's I don't know if Scientology would let him do that. But yeah, I think he's actually he's a good-looking guy. He's crazy as fuck, but man, I like Tom Cruise. There's something charming about Tom Cruise. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like him as an actor.
Yeah. Again, Tom Cruise from his younger years to today, there isn't that much difference. And I wouldn't say that he's old. I call it mature. He's more mature.
Yeah.
Because when you think of old, you have a very specific there's a specific connotation to that word old. He isn't he isn't great. He isn't super emaciated and wrinkled. He just looks like his younger self, just more matured.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, let me just give the synopsis for this movie, and then we'll get into the review. So, Risky Business. Ecstatic when his parents leave on vacation for a few days, high school senior Joel Goodson cuts loose with his best friend Miles. After an attempt at securing the services of a prostitute goes slightly awry, Joel hires gorgeous Lana for a night of delight. Stunned by the amount of Lana's bill, the next morning, Joel grows frantic after he crashes his father's Porsche. In an effort to raise lots of money fast, a desperate Joel turns the house into a brothel.
Oh boy. This is kind of like that prototypical teen angst film where oh wait, train's going by.
Hey, say that again?
But I was saying this is the prototypical teen angst film in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because Joel is kind of he's the kid that follows the rules. He kind of has fun with his friends, which he's the bad kid. But in reality, he kind of follows the rules. He's responsible, and it's kind of through the kind of the elbowing by his friends of like, I forget his friend's name, but it's like kind of like,
Miles.
you just gotta say what the fuck and just and do what kind of just have some fun, do something that's like not you, and that's where the whole kind of hijinks of the film starts.
Right.
I think like before, like the worst thing that Joel had done is that he didn't reset the radio back to the right settings for his dad.
Right. There was that kind of following shot where you're kind of in the perspective of Joel and like getting a taste of like what he kind of goes through on a daily basis, and it's like, yeah, the worst thing he did was not reset the settings on the stereo back to how his father likes it.
Right.
And so
anyway, and he's kind of like, he's from a well-to-do family, like they're pretty well off, and his dad is from and he's kind of putting pressure on Joel to become be in an Ivy League school, but Joel is kind of an average guy. Like his grades aren't that great. I mean, they're good, but they're not Ivy League good.
Right. They're not extraordinary. He is, like you said, very average.
And I think in a lot of ways, Joel is, not really sure about his future, just like, anyone his age would be. It's like, we put a lot of pressure on kids, by 17 or 18 to like, oh, you got to have your whole life mapped out. Which is kind of ridiculous, to be honest. But to me, Joel was kind of like, man, I could put myself in Joel's role. Like, I felt like, I could have been him as a character. It's very believable.
Right. Yeah. Very, very relatable character. Yeah, and it's like, he, and in typical teenage fashion, he takes advice from his friends. Even though his friends are, from the same part of town, the same situation as he's in, he still, thinks that they have to contain like some sort of wisdom. Like his friend Miles, who tells him like, sometimes you just got to say fuck it. And do something completely out of character for once. It's like, but then even like after like the hijinks ensue, he admits like I've never even followed my own advice.
Well, it kind of I compare this movie a little bit to like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, right? Because you have the main character and his friend in that film, who's his friend is like he kind of passes himself off as this machismo like ladies man.
Yeah, this teenage sage.
And it's like you gotta you just gotta be in there. You gotta take control of the room and all this bullshit. And and come to find out later in the film, it's all bullshit. Like it's like, what the fuck do you listen to me for?
Right, and it's like, and then like he kind of like ribs him, saying like, "Well, you're an idiot for listening to me."
Yeah, which is true. And so that's kind of how the whole movie kind of starts to get its tension, is from Joel listening to his friend and kind of in the search of a escort. And he starts off by having a what turns out to be a cross-dresser.
Mm-hmm.
This big black guy wearing a dress and a wig, coming over, and it's like so that he ended up having to pay for all of that. And
yeah, the ride over, and just like the general and like kind of like the general present the general pleasure of that cross-dresser's company.
Right.
Even though it was his friend Miles who calls the number and makes the appointment, and and then Joel like frantically calls Miles and say, "Hey," he's like, "Get your ass over here." It's like, this is your doing, so you're the one who has to deal with this. but Joel doesn't. I mean, Miles doesn't, and so Joel has to
Right.
take care of the situation, and it's through the compassion of this crossdresser that he is given the opportunity to meet Lana, the kind of the counterpoint to Joel in this movie.
Yeah, and who is I forget the actor. I can't think of the actress' name that plays Lana, but woo.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, woo.
Yeah,
man.
whew. Tasty. She's one tasty slice. I tell you what.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If I was a teen back in the early '80s, yeah, this would have been the film I would have wanted to watch.
Yeah, it's funny though, because again, I think it's been well established that we coined this term, cultural cinematic archaeology. Risky Business was like the proto teenage angst sex comedy. Even though even though the comedy was very light and it definitely hinged more upon like the drama of the situations. What was that?
But it was funny at the same time.
Right. It wasn't an explicit comedy, but it did have humor.
Right.
What was it? There was actually they kind of did a remake of this movie in the early 2000s with The Girl Next Door.
True. Yeah.
Because again, kind of like I've seen Risky Business without actually seeing Risky Business.
Yeah. Well, I think of Risky Business in this way as far as how a comedy goes. Like you look at it as like, let's say you're going through a situation in your life and it's like it is really stressful and it sucks at the moment. But then when you go and you look back, maybe a couple months later or whatever, and it's like you laugh about it because it's like, God, that was so stupid, and it was just hilarious how how everything kind of like played out. That's kind of how Risky Business is. It's like looking back and telling a story from your youth of like, God, it sucked back then, but fuck, man, it was funny. It's like, and you laugh about it. That's what Risky Business is.
Right, and it worked out in the end for him because his in the midst of all the chaos, his grade point average just takes a hit, and he's barred from participating in his extracurricular club. Was it the Future Enterprisers? I believe it was.
Yeah.
And he thinks like his life is over. Like there's no way he can get into an Ivy League. There's no way Princeton, the school that his father went to, was going to accept him after this. But in the end, it all kind of works out for him, and at the end, he's sitting across from Lana. There and almost in a kind of reminiscing kind of ways. Like, oh, remember just like a few months ago how we met and all these crazy things happened, but it all worked out for me.
Yeah, and oh shoot! You know what? I forgot to grab my glass. I was gonna put on my sunglasses, for this bit about Risky Business, but I forgot. Oh well, say la vie. Because every time he goes from Joel, nice kid, to now I'm Joel. He throws on like the sunglasses to kind of be like his the alternate persona that he
the alter ego
created by being his alter ego. And there are two scenes to me that are kind of this iconic, the iconic scenes, the cinematic archaeology, if you will.
Right.
Obviously, you have the famous, his parents go out of town, and the first thing he does is, he's by himself in the house, puts the radio on full, the stereo on full volume, full bass, and just kind of cranks it up and slides through through the hallway in his underwear, and starts doing air guitar. So that scene's been parodied in so many different shows and movies since then.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that I think is that a lot of people might not remember is at the end when he's trying to, his parents are on their way home, and he's trying to he's been robbed essentially. Like all his furniture has been stolen by like Lana's pimp or whatever whatever he was, and he's having to he's all the money that he's made he's having to use to pay this guy back so that he can get all the furniture back in the house. That was parodied in I don't remember Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when they were Will was trying to make money by having someone come in to film a music video, and they were going to make money for them using the house, and it ended up raining outside, so all the furniture and stuff got ruined, and like all the stuff
right.
in the house, and they had to he had all the money that they made, they ended up losing money by getting all the money back into all the stuff back in the house and getting it
right. Getting it clean, getting replacement furniture. That's right.
And was it what's her face? The youngest daughter. She ended up stealing the car, and the car got wrecked, and so it was.
You're right.
Yeah, so it was like, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh shit, this is in. That's right, this is in. They parodied this in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So it's all sorts of those are the two scenes to me that are kind of like the most iconic. That have as far as teen angst shows or movies go, that's kind of, you see a lot of these scenes or similar scenes to that.
Right, and also that movie Girl Next Door, it kind of takes a similar format, only they turn the prostitute into a porn star.
That's right.
And
who was the girl in that one? Because it's been a while since I've seen Girl Next Door.
She was on 24 too.
Oh, it was her. That's right. Fuck, what's her name? She's married to a hockey player.
Oh, Alicia Cuthbert.
Yeah. Oof.
That's who it was. Yeah, another tasty slice.
She still is too. Woof.
I haven't seen her recently, but back in the day, she was a tasty slice. I don't think in the same way as Rebecca De Mornay, but just different. Not any bad or not any worse or any better, but just different. Because I remember I kind of like through cinematic archaeology, I kind of seen Risky Business without actually seeing Risky Business, and only catching little snippets here and there, on back in the day on TV or what have you, and seeing only the kind of the edited for TV version.
Yeah.
And then watching Girl Next Door, I was like, oh my god, it's the same movie. It's just Girl Next Door is a little bit more purposeful with its comedy.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
But yeah, this is the same story. The character, I forget who the actor is in Girl Next Door, but he's exactly the same character as Tom Cruise's character, Joel. He has bigger ambitions to go to well-to-do school, and he's in he's part of this this club or after school activity where he's um, trying to build have funds to send this foreign kid who's like really smart to college in the States, and it all goes awry because the pimp turned now into porn director, you know kind of blackmails him into working for him, and so uh, you know, but actually seeing whiskey business again, the first time in a great long while, um, it's it really was it was pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, it's I look back and it's not a movie that to me that is it's it's not like, oh fuck me, this is really an 80s film, like it's the you but it actually is aged really well as a film, I
Right.
think.
I mean, there's some things like some of the acting and like the car chase scene was a little bit. It was a little weak.
Yeah.
But that might have been more of a I don't know. Well, because the guy who wrote the movie also directed it, so maybe he didn't
That's
have
right, yeah.
as much experience. I didn't look up his like IMDb or anything, but
Yeah, I didn't look that up too much. I didn't look too much into this, like the story of how the film got made. But yeah, it was but to me, I was like, it's a good story, and it's to me, it didn't feel like a movie from the 80s.
It still
felt like,
it still holds up to a point.
Yeah, and yeah, to me, like, I like Joel as a character. I think Tom Cruise played him, really well. His friends, they were all assholes, but yeah, I have so many friends just like that, growing up. So
Right.
it's to me like I see a lot of myself in this movie, and it's great, man.
No way. Oh,
What?
sorry. I just was looking at the cast, and then it appears Megan Mullally. I don't know if you're familiar with that actress.
Yeah.
She was her most famous part was on Will and Grace.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. She was one of the call girls in this movie.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh, now I have to go back and watch Risky Business to find, figure out who she was.
Right?
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I think, and then also kind of like, if we're kind of, famous people that became famous like much later this I think this might be one of the earlier appearances of Joe Pantoliano.
Yeah.
Yeah, who plays Guido, the Rebecca De Mornay's character's pimp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and also
Miles, he's didn't he play in like Willow or some like he's been in a bunch of stuff
yeah.
too.
Curtis Armstrong, he's his IMDb is replete with of supporting roles in classic '80s films. I think the most famous being Revenge of the Nerds. He was Booger.
Yeah, that's right. God, I haven't seen that movie in forever either.
Yeah. But also there's a young Bronson Pinchot who later goes on in the '80s. Later goes on to play cousin Balky in Perfect Strangers.
Yes, okay, I knew I recognized him.
Yeah, he plays Barry. He's like the friend that one of Joel's friends that's in the Future Enterprisers Club.
Yeah. I was like, I knew that guy like looked familiar.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. As soon as I saw, I was like, "Oh, Balky."
Yeah, it's surprisingly like a pretty star-studded cast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like people who like eventually uh, become very famous, or just like famous in like just famous in different ways. Like Curtis Armstrong. I mean, he's not an A-lister, but he definitely has a space in a lot of people's hearts. Because of the roles that he played. In the '80s.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and Joe Pantoliano. I mean, they're people who are big fans of him. Just like from like the Bad Boys franchise or Matrix
Yeah,
or.
he's kind of like Curtis Armstrong in a way. He's been in so many different things that
Mhm.
it's just kind of like, yeah, people like him because he's like, oh man, he's really good in like everything that he plays.
Right. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that character, that guy from this character, from this movie and that movie, and so on, so on and
I think
so
he was
forth.
in Gone in 60 Seconds too, the Nicolas Cage version.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff too. So it's kind of it's going back and seeing this is like, wow, there's so many people that like this is kind of like this movie was probably like their start or pretty early on in their career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I love when we do like these old movies and it's like, oh, he's like this guy's like an A-lister now, but he started in like this crap, like Sean Penn. Sean Penn started, he played the slacker stoner in Fast Times, and now he's like this respectable actor.
I still think Spicoli was his best role.
What was it?
I still think Spicoli was his best role.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to argue. It's hard to argue. Argue that.
But is there any like are there like any like characters or scenes that like you really like or that you really liked from the film that like stood out to you?
Um. Hmm. It's really weird, and it's a really small thing, but I really enjoyed the scene where the father's car goes into the Lake Michigan.
That's the one I was gonna like mention too.
Because it's not because it was like so like the shot was so or the scene was so revolutionary or because of technique or whatever, but I think that was like the most authentic I've ever seen Tom Cruise act.
God, yes, I was thinking the same thing too.
Like the screaming and like the pleading for like help, to stop the car. I think it was just like it was so relatable because it's like I think I don't know about you, but I think a lot of guys can relate to that scene where it's like nothing, I don't want, it's like nothing can happen to my dad's car. And if something happens to my dad's car, then I am fucked. And
Yes.
so like
Oh God.
and so like the desperation in his voice was like so convincing and like relatable. That I thought like that was like I thought that was like his best scene, like maybe ever.
Oh God. And it's just he's struggling. It's like no, fuck. I can't. It's like the keys are locked in the car.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
can't
yeah.
get the door open. He's like fuck, and like it's just going faster and faster down the hill. And he's like, oh Jesus Christ! And like
Right, yeah, and he's like trying, and he's like doing his best to like slow it down even, and just like his legs could like snap off, but as long as he stops his car, it'll be worth it.
It's like I don't care what happens to me. It's just as long as this car doesn't go into the fucking river.
Exactly,
It's like
exactly.
it because it comes off of a scene like between him and Lana they're starting to actually get to know each other,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying to like learn more about Lana, and I think in a lot of ways is innocently asking about like her life, and she takes it as like you judging me, kind of you fucking jerk, and so she storms off, and so it's like he's like oh fuck. and then like she slams the door, and the that's when like all hell breaks loose. It's like, oh god. So you have that on top of like the car heading towards the lake. He's like, oh god. It's like he's trying to like, and here's why I think it's the best part, because it doesn't just go straight into the lake, because that would have sucked on its own. But the best part was like it just stops just in time. It's like, oh, and you just see
Right,
this
yeah,
like look of
the
elation on his face,
small,
like thank God. And
right,
it's like, like,
the small sliver of hope that he gets when the car stops. It's like, oh, thank Jesus, like, he thinks he's in the clear, but then all of a sudden, the front of the pier, gives way.
Oh. And it's just like, God damn it. Oh, it was great.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's really weird that we're talking about this one small, like almost insignificant scene, but it's like the most relatable, and it's the best. I think it's the best performance Tom Cruise has ever given.
Right, and well, that scene is also the catalyst for the rest of the film, because that's how, like, because Lana, I think, feels bad for him, and so he's like, well, let me help you, let me use what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
This is your way to be like, you want to be a future enterpriser, right? Well, here you go. And so she uses her skills and like her network to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and obviously because he's able to ring in the clientele, all these rich young teens who are just kind of looking for a good time, and she has the good time.
Right. Yeah. Essentially, Joel is offering what some hunters might call a canned hunt. Or in basketball parlance, a layup.
Right.
So,
and here's the thing, though, because I think too, what because Lana, let's be honest, Lana's life is not good. Like, her life is been pretty awful, because she's
right. Well, like, if we are agreeing to trust Lana, because I mean, yes, she is a prostitute, and so some unreliable narrator kind of syndrome.
right.
But like, if the story is accurate of why she left home, then yeah, it's a pretty fucked up life.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not even talking about that part of it. I'm talking about, like, because she's 18 at most, maybe 18, 19 at most, and she's
Probably.
a prostitute already. She's been at it for quite a while. It seems like. So,
well, presumably she left. I think she said that she left like around 16.
Yeah.
And
so she's been doing it probably since 16, 17 years old.
Right, and if we're to understand that that she and Joel are the same age.
Yeah, so I'm assuming she's like at 19 at most.
Right. Yeah, and Joel's a senior in high school, which would put him either at the late end of 17 or at the early end of 18.
Right. But you have there is kind of like a connection, like, because she's not just helping him out of because I think they actually do, obviously, like, Joel likes Lana, but I do think that there's a part of Lana that actually does like Joel, that she's not just using him in a sense, because Joel actually does treat her pretty well,
right?
And yeah, I and so yeah, there is this kind of like camaraderie. First it's uneasy camaraderie, but like it does blossom into something.
Right. Yeah, it's like an association of convenience to then like mutual respect. So then I think the lovemaking scene on the train is like where they it's like when figuratively the most naked with each other, and and true intimacy is established in that scene.
Right, and the other thing about those two characters is you have Joel, who he's a young guy who's kind of being pushed in a direction for his life that I don't know if he necessarily wants to go, or like he's not really sure of himself. And Lana comes in and like kind of disrupts his life in a way, but also kind of gives him more of a not carefree attitude, but like he's more like willing to take chances. And whereas Lana comes from sheer chaos and pretty much a garbage life,
Mm-hmm.
and being with Joel gives her something like she gives her focus and structure that she's
Well,
probably never had.
yeah. It's so funny. We're able to see these seemingly traditional values out of this very unconventional movie. But yes, Joel was very rigid, and he lacked the confidence to take risks. And Lana, came from chaos and was very uh, was with someone who's very mercurial and and unstable, and coming together, they both gave each other something. Joel gave Lana stability, and Lana gave Joel confidence.
Yeah.
And so it's, I know it's really weird. Like we're talking, we find, we're talking about like these really, finding these, truths in this seemingly what is it? Unremarkable, teen sex comedy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's kind of weird, but it's like, is the more I think about it, it's like, damn, like there actually is some. So, it's not just some random like cheap sex thrill comedy. There's actually some like really interesting dynamics to the film.
Right. Yeah, and we're not saying that the writer or the director had like our interpretation in mind for this movie, but we're just saying that this is after watching it and ruminating on it a little bit. This is these are the little bits that we see in it.
Right. Yeah.
And someone else could watch it and just think, oh my god, Rebecca De Mornay's tits are amazing.
Which they are.
Yeah, which they are. That's completely valid stance as well.
Yeah. God, yikes! It was great.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else to really say about this movie.
I don't have anything else to say. I love Risky Business. It's you gotta watch. If you've never seen it, you gotta watch it. It's great.
Absolutely. All right. All right. Let's get into the rating. Why don't you start us off?
I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay.
It's like there to me there was a lot that I can like see. It's very relatable. It's I like the dynamic between Joel and Lana and their whole relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're great characters. That they both actors played them. Tom Cruise was really fantastic as Joel. And Lana was just a really well played character. And I I'll this is a movie that has a lot of rewatchability in my eyes too. So that has a huge plus in my in its favor, and it's a good story. It's a fun story, and obviously, like when other people are kind of copying, as a homage or of the film, then you've done something really good.
Right. Well, yeah, this is gonna be one of those nights where it's like I'm completely with you, and I'm gonna give this a 4 as well.
We are really in sync today for some reason.
I know, right? Yeah.
It's really odd.
It's a little uncanny. I know. It's a. But I think it just goes to show that it's like we might actually have like the same kind of thought pattern, or like the way we kind of like, think about things might be
Yeah.
similar.
Well, it's weird because we haven't really talked a whole lot since we started the break,
Yeah.
and then it's like, but we're getting ready to start back up. It's like, damn, dude, like, were we like? It's like we're talking yesterday or something like that, and it's like,
Yeah, it's like we were in communication the entire time. It's like we just like it's like slide right back into it. It's like, yeah, I like you want to do it this way? Yeah, totally. It's like, oh no, that totally makes sense. Like, yeah, absolutely. It's like, all right, let's do this.
it's like right back in the groove, baby.
Yeah, right back. Yeah, didn't miss a beat. All right, well, that's our review for Risky Business. Both Robert and I give this a 4. Not the first time we agreed on a movie, but it definitely won't be the last. Um, so we do recommend it. Go out and check it out for yourself, and let us know what you thought of it. Whether you think that that you see some of the things that we said and you agree with, or you're just like completely or you're completely the opposite of us, and you're like, you guys are crazy. You guys are seeing things that aren't even there. Just leave it for us in the comments.
There's a lot of people like, what's risky business?
Yeah.